Are you still there? I don't know. I hope so. Hi everyone, Erin here, mum of the Blended Bunch. I'm really excited to be back. I have been encouraged to go back by a few of you, but particularly by my best friends, Joanna and Chelsea, who have actually brought me this for Christmas, this amazing camera stand with a light. And I've been thinking about it for the last few days, and I realised that it actually is something that I really want to do and really want to continue to do into 2020. I think it's really important to get, for people to sort of see the life of blended families, the good and the bad and the ugly, as they say. And I really enjoyed doing it about this time last year. So thank you for staying with me. I'm sorry I've been really away, I guess, this year. But like I just said, it's something that I really want to focus on in 2020. So today is Saturday, December 28th, 2019. So like I said, it is pretty much the same time as when I started this blog last year. It is Christmas holidays, it is school holidays, and we actually have all 5 children here. They did come last night. Well, the 4 older ones, obviously Poppy's here all the time, but the 4 older ones came last night and are here for a week. The Alexis and Rose, my 2, are actually going to now be staying with us for the rest of the school holidays. They still will go to their dads on the weekends they normally would have gone. But yeah, they have decided that they would prefer to stay with myself. Sorry, I can hear Rose out on the trampoline. I didn't know if she was yelling, but she was yelling, but not yelling, if that makes sense. They've decided to stay with us in January, but again, that's a whole different story, but it's an important story to probably tell because it is actually, it is a family issue. I don't know if issue is the right word, but it's not our issue. But anyway, probably not tonight. Just saw Nathaniel in the background. It has actually been a big 2019. I know we all say that, and it has been big for everyone, but particularly for our family, it has been massive, unexpectedly massive. I actually watched a couple of my videos from earlier, they're walking past, from earlier when I first did this, and I actually mentioned quite a bit my mother-in-law, Pam. So Pam, like I said, my mother-in-law, in May, actually not May, probably not as, around June or July, Pam started complaining about being quite lethargic and quite tired. And she would tell me that it was because of the flu injection that she had in May, which I was a bit skeptical about, to be honest, but didn't think much of it, to be honest, because she was living as she normally does. She was having Poppy regularly, but yeah, so I'm trying to work out how to word this maybe. Then it probably got to about mid to late July. I observed a real decline in Pam's health. I would see her regularly, a couple of times a week, probably not as much. And one particular day I walked in and I've never seen anyone as pale as I saw her that day, and I made the mistake of saying that to her, which made her feel very self-conscious. But she had a blood disorder which was diagnosed unexpectedly. This blood disorder she had no idea she had. It was diagnosed when she had a hip operation a couple of years ago, and it was getting quite managed well. The dog's just gone outside. But there was some concern in some of her blood tests that she'd had. Her blood doctor was suspecting that she had moved into the next stage of this blood disorder. So that's what we were putting it all down to. That's the reason why she was feeling unwell. And Pam, similar to me, has great anxiety, particularly around health issues. So I was sort of going, yeah, she's quite anxious. That's why she's not quite herself. But again, living life, still having Poppy. She took myself and Rebecca, Nat's sister, her daughter, plus Rebecca's son's girlfriend at the time, they've since split up, but took us to a stage show in August. I'm trying to remember the date. I think it was around first Sunday or second Sunday in August. Took us to the stage show. She wasn't really eating, but again, that's not unusual, and she was walking a little bit slow, and she said to Beck and I at the time, oh, ever since I've had my hips done, you don't walk as fast. And we sort of went, yeah, and I thought that's a bit strange because she's had her hips done for a couple of years now, but again, all right. Anyway, about 4 days later, she had a really bad fall at home outside, where she was pushing her or pulling out her garbage bins, and explained it that she somehow lost her footing and fell to the ground. And when she's fallen to the ground, she's bumped her face, so she got quite a really bad pretty big bruise around here. And yeah, so it was, she had a really bad fall. Her neighbours were there. Glenn, Nat's grandfather was there, but him being 85 was very frail and couldn't actually physically get her up. Thankfully, the neighbours got her up. She let Rebecca know and was determined not to go to the doctor. In hindsight now, we should have taken her, but hindsight's great. Nat saw her the following week and he was really concerned about her. This is probably on the Saturday. And he was there for a few hours and he said that she didn't get off the couch at all, this is when we really started to worry. We knew just something really wasn't right. So I said to him, look, I'll go over on Monday, I'll clean the house, because she was a very tidy person, but it was just looking a little bit, I won't say dirty because it wasn't dirty, but I just thought, look, it's an excuse for me to go over and I'll just check up on how she is. And I went in on the Monday morning. I dropped Poppy off at kinder and the girls off at school, and I went straight to their house with the intention to clean. And when I got there, Glenn answered the door and Pam sort of stumbled out of bed, realising that I was there. And yeah, I knew the second I saw her that something was very, very wrong. She looked very, very, very sick. And I text Nat straight away and I said, she needs to go to the doctor. Becky had taken her to the doctor on the Friday and they'd lectured her because she hadn't been eating. And I said to Nat, I'm really worried. And he goes, all right, I'll try to leave work. And I sent my sister's a nurse, not an aged care nurse, but a nurse all the same. And I said to her, I'm really worried. And she said, look, she was at work and she said, look, I'll leave, try to leave early and I'll come over and I'll be the tough nurse because she's not going to listen to, you're going to be too soft with her. She obviously needs to get to hospital. And I said, yeah, I think that's what she needs. She needs, you come over not as Amy, but come over as a nurse. As the morning sort of progressed, I could see her getting worse. So I got Becky on the phone and Becky said, you need to get her to the doctor, which I hated doing because I knew that she didn't want to go. But I knew I had no choice. There was something wrong with her. So I sat her, she was sitting down, and I sat on the couch next to her and I said, Pam, I've made a doctor's appointment for you. And she said, no. And I said, I have. And I said, please let me take you because I'm worried. We're worried about you. And I didn't realise I was going to cry. And she sort of looked forward, didn't look at me, but looked so forward and said, I'll do it for you, Erin. I'll go to the doctor for you. So we went to the doctor and the doctor took one look at her and said, you need to be in hospital, which she flat out refused to go. She said, can you force me to go to the hospital? And her GP said, well, no, I can't. You're of sane mind. You can make your own decision. But I strongly recommend it. By this point, she could hardly walk. She was visibly had lost weight. She was still quite bruised from her fall. And she said, good, I'm glad, I'm not going to go. And what could I do? I just sat there, and the doctor and I kept looking at each other going, we know what she needs to do, but what am I going to do? Take her kicking and screaming. So we went out, and I sort of, as I left her in the waiting room, and as I was left her in the waiting room to go to the car, Nat called me. I said, she's not going, she's flat out refusing. He goes, right, I'll call Becky. And by the time I got the car, Becky was on the phone, and I'm driving Pam home, and Becky, she's tough, she's good, and she was just basically not yelling at her mum, but yelling at her mum, said, you need to go to hospital, da 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 da. Anyway, I called up Peninsula Private. I got on to her specialist, who was actually on the phone to the GP. The GP was that worried about her. She called the specialist herself, and he said, yep, I'll get her a bed, be here in an hour. So by that time, Nat arrived, and he said, I'll take her. And we went to Peninsula Private. And then that became a journey, a month journey. The blood test had come back saying that the blood disorder hadn't gone to the next stage, so that was ruled out, but her specialist continued on in the investigations. And she had a full body CT scan the next day, so that was the Monday. She had a full body scan on the Tuesday afternoon. Nat and Becky were called. They were there, but they were asked to stay, and they said there's a massive tumour on her bowel, and also on her lungs and her liver. And they had to go in and confirm and take a biopsy, but they were certain it was stage 4. So we went from having this vibrant, energetic woman. Granted, I know she was older, she was in her early 80s, but anyone who knew Pam knew that she wasn't a woman in her 80s, yes, by age, but not by anything else. So we knew how bad it was. She didn't. We wanted to not spare her of it, because we knew her anxiety was so bad, and her depression had sort of flared up after years of being good. And yeah, we wanted to actually get it confirmed. So she had a biopsy done on the Thursday, and on the Friday we saw the oncologist, who confirmed the severity and confirmed that there was hope at some point she might be able to, not to cure the illness, but to help her live longer. But he saw her on the Friday, and just by visually, just by visually looking at her and seeing her test results, ruled any sort of treatment out. So on the Friday, she was told she had stage 4 terminal cancer. We were told that the liver would begin failing before, so even though the cancer had started in the bowel, the liver would actually fail before the bowel cancer got her. Does that make sense? We were given, although there was no timing, it was very clear that we actually were originally told it could be a few days. So we took the kids to see her on the Sunday, and we had explained to them, and it actually was a really lovely day, because we actually thought this would be the last time the kids would see her. And we had told the kids, and we were sort of all she was laying in her bed, and she was probably the best she'd been. And it was really funny because Rose, you could see the clocks turning, and she looked at Pam and said, Pam, you don't look like someone with cancer. And like, Pam knew Rose and just burst out laughing, because that's just Rose, and she laughed, and she goes, don't I? Rose goes, no. So Rose was basing it on TV or movies or something. But she was then moved to palliative care, I think 2 days later. So out of Peninsula Private into palliative care. Family came. Becky's son was overseas in Cambodia, so he had to try to get home. It was a journey and a half for him to get home. But anyway, we from initial diagnosis to when we lost Pam, she died on Monday, September 16th at about 9:10 at night. We got about 4 weeks with her. So as horrible as it was a really lovely month, but a very difficult month. And we're still a few months on, really struggling. I don't want to say really struggling, because we're struggling, but it's, yeah, she was a big impact on our life, big impact particularly on Poppy's life. Poppy doesn't, she'll randomly talk like my friends. She was at Shana and Chelsea's the other day on her own. I had left to go to an appointment, and Shana told me that she just started talking about Pam just out of the blue. And she'll do that. We'll be doing something and then she'll say something about Ma or something. So I guess it's sort of nice to be for and not really understand. But there's been a lot of pressure on that since then. Just family shit, basically, that he's wearing on his shoulders. So yeah. But anyway, I didn't want this to be a miserable blog, but that has been a really massive impact.